Coming up on Theater Talk.
You told me I was going to be here with the guy, the theater critic from the Times, and being Riedel.
Otherwise, it wouldn't get you here.
That's right.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation. From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post. Now, Susan and I, we both love comedians. We love Bob Newhart. We love Phyllis Diller. We love Flip Wilson. We love Jack Benny.
Gallagher and Sheen.
Gallagher and Sheen, exactly. We love to have comedians on the show. And we've had some great ones over the year. Unfortunately, today we've got some second bananas. It's the best we could do, but I love them anyway. My friends.
Wait, it's a really
You
great
haven't
way
even
to
been
start
here
a show.
30 seconds.
As much as we have on you, you're
30
really
seconds.
I know.
Fire away,
you're
boys.
treading on thin ice, my friend.
My good friends from the Imus in the Morning Show. One of my great friends in show business, Rob Barlett, who's been a guest many times on Theater Talk, and a great Broadway star in his own right.
Well, thank you, Michael.
Welcome to Theater Talk.
I appreciate all your support, and
Encouragement.
especially your review of More to Love.
I wasn't around for that
I
one.
know,
but
I know,
heard,
I know
but
you
heard.
weren't.
But I've been a supporter of yours from Tabletop, when you were off Broadway.
That was actually, yeah, that was my return to theater after the debacle of More to Love.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about more.
But do you know how I found
hold on,
Tabletop?
No.
Hold on. I saw a poster on the street, and I thought it looked so good that I went to Tabletop and then sent Michael there because I take credit for his entire career.
Now, did you see it?
Yeah, we have to introduce Tony and then
Yeah,
ask.
okay.
No, go ahead. Carry on.
No, I thought that they were just they were going to build up a thing and then they were going to
No,
just.
forget it now. You told me I was going to be here with the guy, the theater critic from the Times, and being Riedel.
Otherwise, it wouldn't get you here.
That's right. And our audience member for tonight, Tony Powell, also from the Imus in the Morning program, and also a good friend of mine. Tony and Rob, welcome to Theater Talk, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
All right, guys. So I am always fascinated by why somebody becomes a comedian. I mean, because were you that funny as a kid, or were you in pain? Were you in trouble? Were you trying to find something funny to do to get away from pain and trouble?
It's kind of a combination of both. I mean, you develop certain skills to make up for the certain deficiencies that you have in your life. And you get chosen last for, touch football or stickball, and when the girl on crutches gets picked before you, you learn to compensate in other
No,
ways.
but you would get picked before me.
The kid blowing into the holes on the wheelchair. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we'll take Timmy, and we'll trade you, Timmy, for Rob. So I learned how to imitate other people in the neighborhood.
So you were an impressionist originally?
Kind of. I mean, that's how I started. It was really just making fun of, everybody in the neighborhood, and then it just kind of, went from there.
And you, Tony? I mean,
That wasn't my problem. I got picked. I think comics are born. I really do. I think that it's just like actors or writers. It's something innate in you, and just like the X-Men, you find your powers start to emerge at a certain time in your life. And I think in school, I recognized that I had a way with observing the world, and found that out in class. A lot of us are class clowns. And no, actually, class comedian. I was a class comedian. Class clown gets sent to the principal. If you make the teacher laugh, you're a professional.
You're all right. Do you guys remember the first time you ever started to get a laugh? The first time you made somebody laugh? Like a whole room of people laugh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, go ahead, Tony.
5th grade.
Yeah, what happened?
It was science class.
Hilarious.
But so much happens in science class. Whether somebody's, if somebody's, the frog. I think the
frog.
Frog, yeah, dissecting the frog, and you're sitting there watching, and you can, you do the play-by-play, and and it's funny for a long while, until the teacher says, all right, you know what, enough, and you calm down for 30 seconds, and then he goes back. So yeah, I mean, I just think, that was the first time I thought, wow, maybe I am funny, or other people find me funny, because I was a really shy kid, and that alter ego was what kind of bridged the gap.
And for you, Rob, the first time you made people laugh?
It was kindergarten. It was kindergarten.
And you walked in?
No, it was a Christmas party, I guess, and I imitated the Pat Cooper Italian wedding routine that I'd seen in the Ed Sullivan Show the night before, and I made Ida Green laugh. And that was
Ida Green was
the girl I had the crush on in kindergarten, and that was it.
Is it true that comedians can get the good-looking girls just by being funny? I mean, could you swipe them away from the football captain?
No. In a word, no. It's
Funny is a powerful aphrodisiac.
yes,
though.
it is.
I mean, people. I mean, you know, if you read all the magazines, I think women always say sense of humor is one of the big things that you know they're attracted to. But you don't want to go trying to get the football player's girlfriend.
You'd wait until she broke up with him, and then
You move in for the kill.
you'd imitate him, and then make her laugh, and then
That's
you'd
the
be good to
trick
go.
of the trade. So we had lunch at 21 a couple of months ago,
Yeah.
and you guys regaled me with sort of the early days and the sort of bad places you played, the real low-down places you start out. If you could just tell me the most horrible experience of being a comedian.
Betty's Fireside.
Betty's Fireside.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I haven't thought of that place.
What was Betty?
Betty's Fireside was like a bar way out east on Route 80, some little town, literally just off the highway. And it was a little bar. And they had a stage that was like inside the bar area. You would be standing on a stage, almost like the scene in what was it, the Blues Brothers,
Yeah.
where they went to that chicken wire place and they were throwing bottles. It was that kind of insanity, and you had to stay there in the middle of the bar on the stage, and the bartenders are walking around getting drinks, and people are sitting around the bar and in different spots, and they are screaming at you from the time you take the mic out of the stand until you put it back. And they have no idea what you've said. And it's really just a challenge of just standing there and doing the time and getting off. You know, a lot of people, it would break a lot of people. You know, they just run from the stage screaming, but you really couldn't run from the stage because you were behind the bar. So you had to climb down.
Over the drunken heads to get out to the exit.
Get out of there, you know. So you just had to stay there and do your time. I mean,
Did you play it?
I don't think I ever played Betty's Fireside. I mean, I played other rooms that were probably just as bad.
What was the time you played where there was it roller skating or something?
I did a Sweet 16 or a bar mitzvah, I don't remember which, at a roller rink, and they had the microphone set up in front of the buffet table, and so people were skating behind me to get shrimp off the buffet table. See, it's
How hip to have you as a bar mitzvah.
Oh yeah, I was a big hit with the kids. Like, you know, sometimes it was the gig itself that was the nightmare. You know, like the Betty's Fireside or BF Packies or one of these hideous one-nighter Jersey gigs at some ground round somewhere, and you drive 4.5 hours, and the only reason you got the gig is because you had the car. You know, there are times when you have a really, really horrible experience, but at a great place. You know, like the Bottom Line. I was opening for Buddy Rich, and I got up
I
on stage.
saw you. I was there. You were fantastic.
Well, do you remember the guy who was heckling me?
No, I
Okay.
could.
The minute I walk out on
Susan.
stage, I start, and he goes, "Thanks, Rob. Get off now. You're done, Rob. Bring on Buddy."
There's nothing you can do about it.
Nothing I could do about it. Now, Buddy Rich walks in during my set, and
Yes.
the guy stands up and goes, "Buddy, may God make you live forever. Get on now, because this guy sucks."
Tony, you had one that you told me about where you had to drive a long time and you couldn't stay in the house you were supposed to stay.
Oh, that was our famous comedy Woodstock show.
Yeah, we went to. We drove to the wilds of Central New York, about 4 hours from the city.
It was
Just past Oneonta, or was it?
yeah, it was right by the Baseball Hall of Fame.
So near Cooperstown.
Yeah, it was a campground.
And this was great. I mean, the gig was cool. It was Robert Klein and Rob and I, and we were all, you know, it was outside under the stars, you know, great set, almost Woodstock for comedy,
Thousands of people
packed
on blankets.
you know, and just outside at night. And I'm like, man, and the gig, and, you know, I just started, and it was a great gig, and then, you know, we leave. This is before. Keep in mind, this is before there's cell phones or Waze, so you can figure out where you're going. So we're driving in the middle of nowhere, in Friday the 13th territory, and we go to the address that we have, and you pull up to a place. Sometimes you pull up somewhere and you go, this can't be right.
It's supposed to be a bed and breakfast.
Bed and breakfast. This is what
they
we told us. Yeah, we're going to a bed and breakfast. So I'm looking for a sign, that says bed and breakfast, and and welcome to the such and such Oak Creek Inn, that kind of deal. Lovely gazebo, nothing. We pull up to what is a house, a 2-story house in the middle of nowhere. We pull in and we drive onto the gravel driveway. So now the dust and the gravel is just, obscuring the lights, the headlights, because we didn't turn the cars off just in case. The headlights are all dusty. So now it's really horror movie setting. So
Tony got his girlfriend with him.
Yeah, I come in, and so Rob says, well, go knock on the door. I said, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to knock on the door. Black maid knock on the door in the middle of nowhere at 1 a.m. That's what I want to do. So you go knock on the door. So he goes and he knocks on the door. Rob knocks on the door, and we're both standing there. And so, we're standing out. We step back, from the door just in case it's a shotgun blast. And up in the corner of the house, one light comes on. And then you could see lights going as he walks down the hall, and the light by, I guess, where the staircase is, and another light goes, and and then there's a light right by the door, which means he must be right there. And he opens the door, young kid, about 15, 16? Mm-hmm. And Rob says, is this the
bed and breakfast?
And he goes, yeah, it is, it sure is, the bed and breakfast. Okay, all right. And I'm thinking, man, this can't be. So then he looks at me. He says, you're black. Yes, I am. All day. Then he goes, I guess, to get the book, the sign-in book. It's like one of those, what do you call it? The little marbled, what do you call it? The little notebooks they have for the kids. He gets the little notebook. And I guess he goes to wake his sister up so she could either get out of the bed. I guess we were hot racking. I didn't know what was going on. And so she could change the sheets on that. And we go, all right, well, hang on. We're going to go get the luggage. And then we peeled out of there like, the people that remember the Munsters? How everybody used to leave that house? Yeah. That's how we left it.
Gravel was flying everywhere.
Dust, a trail of dust, like a tornado.
You were out of there. So since you guys are on Imus, I got to ask, first of all, you, Rob, how did you wind up with this man I guess we know, and we know and sort of love, Mr. Don Imus? How did you wind up on the Imus in the Morning program?
I was friends with one of his producers, the producer before Bernard.
Yeah. Bernie McGurk, who's
right.
been with him a long time.
A guy by the name of Mark Sheff, and he was also a stand-up comic.
Right.
And I had been a fan of Imus's when I was in high school, to college, whatever, and kind of lost touch with the program. Now it's the 80s, and I was doing a benefit, I think, for Make-A-Wish or something like that. Doing a gig with Mark, and he said, well, why don't you come on and do Imus on Friday? We do comedians on Fridays. I said, sure. So I went in and I did my Tom Carvel bit, and he liked it and said any time. And so I would kind of just show up as often as I possibly could to get on. And
to promote gigs, right?
To promote gigs.
Because you weren't being paid for this.
No, not initially.
Yeah.
And I was promoting gigs, and then eventually they were paying me by the bit. They said, well, instead of coming on live and doing whatever, why don't you come in and do recorded bits? And that's what I did. And then I did that, doing recorded bits for many, many years until we were on TV and started shooting the show on set in Secaucus at MSNBC. And then the bits then became live, performed live with prompters and all that. But that was 28 years ago.
Wow.
So.
And Tony, you came on after Don had the problem with the Nappy Headed hose. And
Yes, I was post Rutgers.
You were post Rutgers.
Yeah,
right?
but what's funny though? I mean, Rob talks about listening, and I don't think I've ever told him this. I don't think I've ever said this out loud. When I was a kid, I went to prep school, and I was so homesick when I was in Connecticut, and I just wanted to hear something from New York City. So one day I'm flipping through the dials of my radio, just trying to find something that would come in. And NBC had a 50,000 watt transmitter, so I could hear Imus in the Morning. So initially, I just tuned in just so I could hear the traffic reports. They would mention names of roads that I was like, oh, so I was familiar with. And I started listening to, the Reverend Billy Saul Hargis and Moby Worm and these things, and it became part of my morning routine. And then, a few years later, I guess he came back to the Fan and, Sports Talk. I started listening then. So I had been listening to him for years. I guess after this event, he wanted to change the dynamic of his show, add a little color. And he asked Rob who he knew, and Rob came up with, I guess, a couple of names.
Well, yours was the only name I really came up with.
Yes.
He's lying.
Yeah.
No. The other names were not mine because I was not familiar with the other people.
Did you hear the famous incident when they were talking about the Rutgers basketball team and he called them the Nappy Headed host? Did you hear that?
No. You know what's funny? I saw the I didn't hear it initially when he said it on air. But it was the story. Everybody was paying attention to the story. So I saw it later on, and
were you offended by it?
I'm a comic, and so I said to myself, let me watch it to see where he was going. And what I did was I watched the video that he was describing, and what he was really attempting to say was very awkward and clumsy. He's already gone over. It's a clumsy joke, but I think what he was trying to make the case for was that these girls from Rutgers were tough girls, because the girls from Tennessee, they came out, they had ponytails, they had the uniforms oppressed, white and orange, and orange armbands, sweatbands, and the socks were
Buddy Deirdre's.
Yeah, clean, and they were playing for Pat Summitt, and this is the storied program, and then the Rutgers girls look kind of rough. Cigarettes rolled up in the sleeves of the unis, and, tattoos, and I thought, and so the joke was, how could these Davids beat this Goliath? Right. That's what he was attempting to do. But then,
it didn't come across.
It didn't come across. It didn't come out that way. And again, I think that was the saving grace for me, was because I had been listening for a number of years. So, he had built up a lot of credit with me.
And his defense had been, I make fun of everything, including myself. Everything's fair game. Every ethnicity, everybody.
Right.
It's all a big joke.
The only thing he likes is kids and animals. That's it. That's the only thing he truly likes, and his wife. That's it.
Yeah, but sometimes people aren't in on the joke, and I think that was the problem.
That was the issue.
They were not in on the joke.
Now, sorry, you want to say?
I was going to say, I think that's also kind of what Donald Trump is saying about political correctness.
Yes.
I think that's kind of that's really what it's all about now at this point. And comics especially have been persecuted for saying things or tweeting things and
look at Noah, what's his name there on the Daily Show.
Daily Show.
He got in trouble for tweeting sort of
for being anti-Semitic. Can you imagine?
You want to meet Mrs. Political Correctness? She's sitting to my right, ladies and gentlemen, right here.
Here's what I'm going to say. Here's what
just a woman.
Lighten up, sweetie.
Yeah.
Give me some more coffee.
Good night, everybody.
No.
Thanks. Tune in next week. We'll have the Women Playwrights Forum.
Here's what I'll say about political correctness, because I'm a big defender of political correctness, and people that don't like it, and here's what I've been saying, because I've been asked about it. When people say they don't like political correctness, what they're really saying is, I want the right to be racist, misogynist, sexist, and homophobic, and I'm asking for your permission. So when a comic is arguing about that, the very nature of being a comic is that you see the world in a certain way and that you're able to find the funny in the world. Well, if you know that this cup is off limits, that's okay. You can do the table, you can do the coaster, you can do the floor. There's so many other things that are available to you. So for you to be able to say, for you to be focused on not being able to make a joke about that cup, that's a problem. That's a you problem. That's not a problem for the people that you want to offend. So that's.
But then, as a comic, aren't you tempted just to throw the firecracker in there and blow up the cup?
Well, comics are some of the most self-destructive people on the planet. The worst thing you can do is tell us what we can't do, and that's the first thing we're.
Well, if the cop is an I'll be beeped. That's one thing to blow up the cup. But if it's some people who've been given trouble about their nappy hair in the past, that's where it was, that there were people who had sensitivity to that and they were offended.
I don't think you should ever make fun of people who don't deserve it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think, and Imus says it all the time, and I think
you throw bricks at the people who have the power.
Yeah, of course.
No, I get it. I
you
think
mean
that's
like
that's the primary job of a comic to me, is to speak truth to power,
Yes.
to take on the establishment, and those girls want the establishment. And I think that's where the trouble began. But I mean, I think we should go after it. Now, if you want to talk about hair, we talk about Trump. That's then that because he should be a big enough boy to take it.
Right.
And he is a public figure. But again, I really do defend. And I'm a strong advocate of being politically correct. I mean, growing up, we used to, you guys love theater, Mickey Rooney dressing in yellowface.
Oh my God!
I mean, but as a child, you think it's funny. It
River,
is
yeah.
funny, yeah. But
Breakfast
then
at Tiffany's.
now you can't do that. When you know better, you're supposed to do better. That's my belief.
In the 50s was blackface, and there were people, you knew better, and you were just agog that they
Oh
had
God, this
that.
is Susan. Like I was
Amos
so
and Andy,
progressive, way back.
I love. I'm a big fan of old movies, and watching John Wayne as Genghis Khan is hilarious to me. Watching Laurence Olivier as the Moor and Othello. I'm saying, there had to be somebody black you could have found and saved. It would have saved money on the budget.
We got to wrap it up, but I got to tell you, Tony, Rob and I are big show queens. It's fair to say that you're a show queen too?
No.
Yes.
What's this we stuff?
You and Rob.
We're fans. We're theater aficionados.
Rob is an actor. We love the theater. Were you ever tempted to be an actor? Is that ever?
In the theater?
No.
I've been an actor most of my life, but not in the theater. No. I've never. I've never. Had a desire to be on Broadway, and I love that you guys have this passion for it, and I will go see and support everything he's in. But I'm not a big.
Don't make it sound like it's a chore.
No, it's not a chore. No.
Well, I'll go see this stuff he's in.
I've enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but I'm just, I have a problem with musicals. I really do have a problem with musicals because and nobody has broke out in song in this room over something that happened.
Well, it's time for the 11 o'clock number now.
Give him the Mr. Cellophane. He can do it. He can do it.
That doesn't happen in real life, man. Has anyone sung to you in the Has anybody on the subway just broke out into a song and dance number?
Yeah, people who are trying to get money.
Trying to get money,
That happens all the time.
That's a job, though.
Clearly, he's so successful now, he doesn't take the subway anymore.
No, I ride it all the time.
You guys have a comedy gig coming up.
Yeah, we're going to the music hall in Portsmouth, New Hampshire for our Not Quite Christmas show on November 21st.
And you guys perform together all the time now?
A lot.
Yeah, we do it a lot. It's fun to do it together.
So, Tony, do you not want to do a play because you don't want to do the same thing 8 times a week because you're so spontaneous?
I don't know what that is. I think, and I love people who live and die to be on the boards. I think that is a tremendous passion. I don't know.
So this is a great first for Theater Talk. You're a guy who doesn't want to do theater.
That's it.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on Theater Talk, Tony.
Well, no, we're talking about it. We're talking about it right now. We're talking about the theater.
We're talking theater.
I'll go see.
All right.
Rob, if he happens to...
As long as there's free tickets, I'm there.
My friend's in the show, I'll be there.
I'll check it out. Yeah, I'll sit right down front.
We got to wrap it up, seriously. But you love the theater, and
I always wanted to.
If you'd not become a comedian, you would love to have been a Broadway.
Well, I became a comedian to become an actor. That was the idea.
He is a Broadway actor.
At the when I started, it was when people like Robin Williams and Steve Martin had lucrative movie careers based on their success as stand-ups, and so that was always the idea. Was I got into stand-up so I could go into TV and film or theater, and and all my training had been in theater. You know.
Could you just tell me that as a kid, your favorite comedian, the person who made you laugh the most growing up?
Jonathan Winters.
Right.
Jonathan Winters, hands down. There was just something about him that just transcended everything. He would be on Carson or whatever, and they would hand him a broom, and he would get more out of that broom in 5 minutes than, it was just like hurt yourself funny. And it was a great bonding thing for my father and I, because we both loved him. And so that was kind of, one of the reasons. But he was one of my biggest influences when I first started doing stand-up, was Jonathan Winters. It's why I do characters and a lot of that kind of stuff.
And also why you move so gracefully.
I
He
have to
gracefully
say,
too.
I'm for a fact, I move pretty good.
No, I love to see you on stage.
I got a little Jackie Gleason in me. Let me have a little whiskey hour at it. Done!
And you, Tony? I mean, when you were a kid, the one that you watched who made you laugh?
I loved the comedy teams, Martin and Lewis and Abbott and Costello. But as I got older and started listening to stand-up, it was Pryor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Richard Pryor would set the template. He set the bar.
Yeah.
And I just said, I'm never going to get over that bar. I just want to try to get as close to it as possible. He set the bar for me. But I mean, just Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin and anything. And when I was small, that was it, man. I would stay up late show to see these movies, and on Sunday mornings, man, Abbott and Costello.
Come on, meet Dracula and Frankenstein.
Go ahead, have something small.
Have a small steak.
You know all the great. All right.
Still funny.
The terrific comedians Rob Barlett and Tony Powell from the Imus in the Morning program. Great performers and great friends of ours. Thanks a lot for being our guest tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
man.
Thank
Great.
you.
Nicer to Susan.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Corey and Bob Dinelli Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, and the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you.